My lovely history teacher, apart from calling us the most depressed demographic he's ever taught, has long stressed the importance of making lists, and I've cottoned on to this idea for the most part. My lists tend to be a lot shorter and a lot sadder, but that's generally what you get as a 12th grader in a competitive academic program. This isn't exclusive to me either, not in the slightest. I'm sure every student has been through the same framework of experience, whether that means scrambling madly for last minute deadlines, or thinking unspeakable thoughts in the dim light of 2 a.m., or living in fear that people will find out you're just pretending to be productive, pretending to be one of them. To anyone who resonates with this, even the slightest bit, I can't claim to know your personal experiences. But if there's one thing I can do, it's make a list. So here's a rundown of how I get through my day-to-day life. Maybe you'll find a fragment or two of yourself. Step one of any list, naturally, is to start making it. Okay, now that that's squared away, step A of the list is something I like to call talking to people about things. And the best way I can describe this is with a past crisis I've been through. I'm a part of the IB program, and when you're a part of the IB program, there's this funky little thing you have to write called the chemistry IA. It's essentially a quirky little 1-week lab followed by a fun, bite-sized 12-page essay. You know, the kind of thing you can do a little trolling with and leave until 3 days before the actual deadline. And every procrastinator knows exactly how this story goes. But even as the workload began grilling me like a human kebab on a stick, something kind of miraculous started happening. I started talking, or rather complaining, to students whom I'd never spoken to before, my once paralyzing social anxiety dampened by stress and exhaustion. And bit by bit, people started complaining back. It was kind of surreal. For what felt like 3 days of weightless limbo, I learned more about people's labs in things like fat saturation or diaper filtration than I ever wanted to in my life. And I had countless heart-to-hearts with classmates that left me crying as I got home. Point is, if I tell you you're not alone, you're not necessarily going to believe me. But the more you talk to the people around you, the people who are just as driven, just as stressed, just as terrified of the future as you are, the more you start to kind of get it. Everyone has their own vulnerabilities. All you really have to do is reach out with your own. Okay, passing exams, also known to many as passing away. And to the right here is a photo of a cheesecake I had made for my friend's birthday. And while we found it pretty funny in the moment, in hindsight, you can really feel there's an undercurrent of spite there. Just pass. I'm sure everyone's been there at least once. Reality hits you in the face. You get a 3 assignment, 2 test, 0 sanity kind of night, and it's either break down or tell yourself, just get it done. And trust me when I say I understand the need for perfection. I was the kid started on tutoring early, Olympiads and everything, riding on a string of middle school success stories. I was told that I'm a prodigy and smart, and that I could do anything I set my mind to. And then I hit the brick wall that is often known as 11th grade, and I got my first 30 in physics, and I watched my world crumble around me. This was probably one of the lowest points in my life. But as someone who is now past that point, I've come to terms with it. It's been a year, and it doesn't even really cross my mind anymore. I mean, I passed the course, and I'm headed to engineering school, and it's over. The people who put their entire self-worth into their grades know who they are. I'm with you, you clowns. Just because you hit a wall doesn't mean you're worthless. It's okay sometimes to just pass. Okay, so the last step is to cry, and this is fairly self-explanatory, so I'll keep this short. Let yourself cry sometimes. Let yourself have moments curled into the crook of your bed to feel terrible, because if you miss an assignment deadline, fail a test, and have plans fall through with a friend all in one day, that's not always going to be a hurdle that only pushed you to work harder, or whatever it is universities want to hear. That sucked. And you should be allowed to cry over it. So go out and buy yourself a tub of ice cream, low fat. Now that the list is done, step 2 of the list is to throw it out. Because once you've made it, once you've organized your vulnerabilities on paper, you don't really need it anymore. I'd be willing to bet that the majority of people's anxiety and depression comes from the fact that they have to do something. You have to put that little red check mark next to each item to show that you were a good student, that you were productive, that you might have hated it, but at least you got it done. And it's in doing everything for that red stroke of ink, for that piece of performative validation, that the list isn't servicing you anymore. You're just servicing it. If there's one thing I want to firmly assert in this talk, it's this. There's no executioner waiting in the wings simply because you didn't do something the way you're expected to. There's what you want, and that's it. There's what you can accomplish, and there's what a perfectly programmed robot can get done. Humans aren't systematic beings. We can't fulfill every list on every day and expect to live at the same time. There shouldn't be any obligation to complete for the sake of completing. And whether that means curling up in your room for a day, or getting stuck in a perfectionist spiral once in a while, or refusing to cry because you can't bear to, that's okay. You're okay. I mean, take it from me, a dumb 17-year-old who has no jurisdiction over her own life, much less yours. I'm standing here, not because I know something groundbreaking, or because I feel like I have to, but because I want to. Even though I had moments where I lay on my bedroom floor and regretted it with my entire being, that's okay, because this moment feels right. And if you think about it, do you really need anything else? I think I'm gonna go study some chemistry now.